Welcome to our channel, Book by Book. Today, we're getting into a really fascinating collection of ideas. It's the Almanack of Naval Ravikant, a guide to wealth and happiness. This isn't a traditional book written by Naval himself, but it's compiled by Eric Jorgenson. He gathered Naval's wisdom from tweets, interviews, podcasts, just tons of material.
Yeah, and Naval Ravikant, for those who might not know, he's a pretty iconic figure, entrepreneur, investor, co-founder of AngelList, just a really deep thinker on modern life, wealth, and happiness.
Exactly. And what this almanac does really is cut through all the noise. We're overloaded with information, right? Quick fixes, status updates.
Totally. And this book offers something different, timeless principles, ideas that compound over your life, aimed at building, well, both real wealth and genuine happiness, freedom, essentially.
It bridges the practical stuff like leverage, judgment, how to build things with much deeper, almost philosophical ideas. Mindfulness, gratitude, understanding your own mind.
That combination is what makes it so powerful, I think. It's not just about making money, and it's not just about meditating on a mountaintop. It's about integrating both.
So let's unpack the core idea, the central thesis guiding this whole collection. What would you say that is?
At its heart, it's Naval's belief that true, sustainable success means mastering two kinds of wealth. There's the external kind, financial independence, having the resources and freedom to live life on your terms. And then there's the internal kind, inner peace, freedom from worry, anxiety, the endless chase. You need both. One without the other isn't really success, in his view.
Okay, and he's really specific about the words he uses here, isn't he? Wealth versus money versus status.
Oh, absolutely crucial. He hits this point hard right at the start. His famous quote captures it. Seek wealth, not money or status.
Yeah.
Wealth is having assets that earn while you sleep.
Let's break that down for everyone listening. Why is chasing money or status the wrong game, according to Naval?
Okay, so money first. Money's just a tool, right? A medium of exchange.
Right.
If you're chasing a high salary, you're chasing money. But what are you trading for it? Your time. Your finite, precious time. No matter how much you earn per hour, you're still selling hours for dollars. Stop working.
The money stops. Yeah. So even someone earning millions a year, if they have to constantly work crazy hours to maintain it, they aren't wealthy by this definition. They're just, well, highly paid.
Precisely. They don't own their time. Now, status. Naval argues that's even worse.
Worse. Why?
Because status is purely relational. It's your rank in a social hierarchy. It's about what others think of you. It's inherently a zero-sum game. For you to gain status, someone else often has to lose it or perceive they've lost it.
Like keeping up with the Joneses, but on a grand scale. Fancy titles, expensive toys, social media likes.
Exactly. And to play that game, you often sacrifice authenticity. You conform. And you're constantly competing, constantly insecure, because status can vanish overnight. It's dependent on others' opinions.
Okay, so if money is just exchanging time and status is a competitive social game, what is real wealth?
Real wealth is freedom. It's independence. It's owning assets, businesses, investments, code, media that generate income without your direct hour-by-hour involvement. These assets work for you while you sleep, while you're on vacation, while you're learning something new. That's what buys back your time.
Which gives you the freedom to choose what to work on, when to work, who to work with, or whether to work at all.
That's it. That freedom is wealth. And building those assets, those systems for independence, that's the focus of the first major part of the Almanac.
Perfect. So that sets our roadmap. We'll dive deep into building this external wealth, this freedom first. Then we'll tackle the equally important journey of cultivating inner peace to actually, enjoy that freedom. All right, let's get into section 1. These are the practical steps, the mindset shifts for building that financial independence. Lesson 1 starts right at the foundation, defining wealth as freedom.
Yeah, this is the absolute bedrock. It's a fundamental shift from how most of us are taught to think. School trains you to work for money, get a good job, earn a good salary.
Or a standard path.
Right. Naval flips it. The goal isn't just to earn, it's to own. Own the systems, the assets that earn for you. It's the difference between working in your job versus working on building your freedom.
He uses that fruit tree analogy, which I think makes it really clear. Can you share that?
Sure. It's simple but powerful. Money is like the fruit you pick from a tree. You get it, you consume it, it's gone. It's temporary.
A paycheck, basically.
Exactly. Wealth, though, is the tree itself. It's the asset, the system that reliably produces fruit season after season without you having to replant it every time. Most people focus entirely on getting the biggest, juiciest fruit right now. They're optimizing for the paycheck. not building the tree.
And that keeps you on the treadmill,
Yeah.
right? Always needing the next job, the next client, the next fruit picking opportunity because you haven't built the underlying asset.
Precisely. Contrast that with, say, building a software product with recurring subscriptions, or creating an online course that sells while you sleep, or owning rental properties that generate cash flow. Those are trees.
So the key takeaway for you listening is to constantly ask, is this activity, this job, this investment helping me pick more fruit now? Or is it helping me plant and grow a tree that will bear fruit for years to come, freeing up my time?
That shift in perspective changes everything. It moves you from being a laborer, even a highly paid one, towards becoming an owner.
Okay, so if the goal is freedom via owning assets, how do you create assets that are actually valuable? Things people will pay for. That leads straight into lesson 2, the power of specific knowledge.
Right. This is Naval's answer to how you become irreplaceable in the economy. Specific knowledge, he sometimes calls it SK, is crucial.
What exactly is specific knowledge?
It's not just expertise in a field, though that can be part of it. It's knowledge that you can't be trained for in a simple, step-by-step way. It's often highly technical or creative, deeply nuanced. Crucially, it sits at the intersection of your genuine curiosity and your innate talents. Things you were perhaps obsessed with as a kid, things you explore naturally without being forced.
So it's deeply personal, not something you can just pick up from a textbook or a weekend course.
Exactly. Think about generic skills, basic coding, standard accounting, project management. These are valuable, necessary skills, but they can be taught, manualized, outsourced, or even automated. People with only generic skills are, frankly, replaceable.
Their value gets driven down by competition.
Precisely. Specific knowledge, because it's unique to your blend of talents, experiences, and passions, is hard to replicate. It's often built over years through tinkering, failing, learning in a way that isn't linear. It's your secret sauce.
Can you give an example? How does this play out?
Sure, maybe you're a decent programmer that's somewhat generic, but maybe you also have a deep, almost intuitive understanding of, say, vintage watch mechanics because you've been fascinated by them since you were 10. Combine those, and maybe you can build a unique piece of software for authenticating rare watches that no purely generic programmer could even conceive of. The specific knowledge is in that unique combination driven by authentic interest.
It sounds like moving away from the factory worker model, where everyone does the same task, towards being more like an artisan, someone with a unique craft.
That's a great analogy. The artisan's value lies in their unique skill and perspective, which can't easily be copied. They often command higher prices and more autonomy because of that rarity.
So for someone listening, how do they even begin to figure out what their specific knowledge might be? It sounds hard to pin down.
Naval gives a fantastic clue, a diagnostic question. Ask yourself, what feels like play to me, but looks like work to others?
Ah, that's interesting, the play aspect.
Yes. Where do you lose track of time? What activities do you gravitate towards naturally, even if no one is paying you? What subjects do you read about endlessly out of sheer curiosity? That feeling of effortless engagement where others might see difficulty or drudgery, that's a strong indicator. If you can find the overlap between that play and something the market actually values, you've found your potential specific knowledge.
That completely reframes the idea of finding your passion. It's less about some grand calling and more about noticing what you naturally do and enjoy than figuring out how to leverage that unique combination.
Exactly. Follow your genuine intellectual curiosity rather than chasing whatever is hot right now. Build skills around that authentic interest.
Okay, so you've identified or started developing your specific knowledge. That makes you valuable, potentially irreplaceable. But you could still be trading your highly valuable time for money, right? Just at a higher rate.
Precisely. Specific knowledge is the engine, but it needs fuel to achieve real scale and freedom. That fuel is lesson 3. Leveraging efforts for infinite scale.
Leverage. This is a huge concept for Naval. He talks about different types.
He breaks it down into 3 main forms. The first 2 are the traditional forms of leverage that have built fortunes for centuries. Number 1 is labor leverage. This is having people work for you. You manage a team, their collective hours amplify your output. But it's messy. Management is hard, hiring is hard, it requires capital.
Yeah, lots of overhead, lots of responsibility. Takes away some of that piece we talked about.
Right. The second form is capital leverage. This is using other people's money, raising investment, taking loans. It allows you to scale faster, buy bigger assets. But again, it requires permission from banks, from VCs, and it comes with risk, debt, obligations.
So both labor and capital leverage are powerful, but they involve managing people or owing money, and critically, they require someone else's permission to use.
Exactly. That permission part is key. Which brings us to the third form of leverage, the one Naval argues is truly revolutionary for individuals today: code and media.
Okay, unpack that. Code and media.
This is technology and content. Software, apps, algorithms, blog posts, videos, podcasts, online courses, ebooks, anything that can be replicated and distributed infinitely at near zero marginal cost.
Near zero marginal cost, meaning once you create it, making one more copy costs almost nothing.
Exactly. Think about it. You write a piece of software once. Selling the second copy costs virtually nothing compared to the first. You record a video once. The millionth view costs you nothing extra in terms of your time or effort.
And the crucial difference here is permission.
Permissionless leverage. That's the term he uses. You don't need a board of directors to approve your blog post. You don't need a bank loan to write code, often. You can create these assets and distribute them globally, potentially reaching millions, without asking anyone for permission.
That's incredibly empowering for the individual.
It totally democratizes wealth creation. The tools are cheaper and more accessible than ever. You, the individual creator or builder with specific knowledge, can now wield leverage previously only available to large corporations or the very wealthy. Your code, your content, works for you 24/7. It scales globally while you sleep.
So if specific knowledge is knowing what unique value to offer, leverage, especially code and media, is the how you amplify that value exponentially without trading more time.
Perfectly put. The application for the listener is, what can you build once that scales? What piece of code, what content, what system can you create that works for you independently? Focus your efforts there. That's working smart, using technology to escape the time for money trap.
It sounds great, but building significant code or a huge media library, that still sounds like a ton of upfront work, a lot of hustle. How does that fit with the goal of freedom and peace? Isn't there a tension there?
That's where judgment comes in. Yes, there's often intense upfront effort, but the critical question is that effort directed towards building the leverage system that will free you later? Or is it just effort aimed at earning the next paycheck?
So intense work is okay, even necessary, but only if it's building the escape ramp, not just running faster on the hamster wheel.
Exactly. You work hard strategically to build the asset that automates your income or impact. That distinction is crucial, and it requires playing the long game.
Which brings us beautifully to lesson 4, the compounding power of long-term games. We usually think of compounding just with money, right? Interest, earning interest.
Right, financial compounding. But Naval expands this idea dramatically. He argues that compounding applies to everything important in life.
Like what?
Your reputation, your relationships, your skills and knowledge, your health. All these things compound over time if you approach them with consistency and integrity.
So playing long-term games means what exactly, as opposed to short-term?
Short-term games are about quick wins, immediate gratification, often at the expense of others or your own future benefit. Think office politics, chasing fads, cutting corners for a quick buck. These are often zero-sum or even negative-sum over time. Long-term games, or what James Carse called infinite games, are different. The goal isn't to win in a finite sense, but to keep playing, to keep building. They rely on trust, collaboration, value creation, and consistency.
And Naval argues that all the big rewards in life, financial and otherwise, come from playing these long-term compounding games.
Absolutely. Think about building a reputation for integrity. It takes years, maybe decades, of consistent, trustworthy behavior. But once established, that reputation compounds. Opportunities come to you. People want to work with you, invest in you, trust you. One slip-up, one short-term greedy move can destroy years of compounding.
The Warren Buffett example fits perfectly here, doesn't it? His wealth wasn't built on a few lucky bets.
Not at all. It was built on decades of sound judgment, consistent principles, and letting investments compound patiently. He played the long game par excellence. Small, smart decisions repeated over a very long time horizon. Consistency beats intensity.
He uses an orchard analogy too, right? About letting roots deepen.
Yeah, the idea that short-term players try to pick the fruit way too early. They optimize for immediate harvest. Long-term players focus on building strong roots, enriching the soil, tending the tree patiently, knowing the real sustainable harvest comes later, and it's much larger.
This long-term perspective ties into two other really important concepts Naval emphasizes. First, judgment over hustle.
Yes, this is huge, especially today when hustle culture is so glorified. Naval says direction is more important than speed. Working incredibly hard on the wrong thing is pointless, even counterproductive.
So knowing what to work on, that's judgment.
That's judgment. It's the ability to perceive reality clearly, understand the long-term consequences of actions, and choose the right opportunities to pursue the ones that align with your specific knowledge and leverage potential. He argues that spending time thinking, reading, and reflecting to improve your judgment is often higher leverage than just mindlessly executing tasks.
That's counterintuitive for many high achievers. The idea that sitting still and thinking could be more productive than being busy.
But it is. Good judgment directs your finite energy and resources effectively. You work hard after you've figured out the right direction. Judgment first, then intense, focused effort.
And the second supporting concept, authenticity as leverage.
This connects back to specific knowledge in long-term games. If you're trying to be someone you're not, or chasing trends you don't genuinely care about, you're competing head-on with everyone else doing the same thing. It's exhausting and inauthentic.
But if you lean into your genuine interests, your unique combination of skills, your specific knowledge,
Then you naturally differentiate yourself. No one can compete with you at being you. Authenticity builds trust because people sense you're not playing a game or wearing a mask. That trust, again, compounds over the long term, attracting the right people and opportunities. Being genuinely yourself is actually a powerful form of leverage.
wow. Okay, so the takeaway from this whole section on external wealth is define wealth as freedom. Find your unique value through specific knowledge. Amplify it massively with permissionless leverage like code and media. And play the long game, focusing on judgment, consistency, and authenticity, letting everything compound.
That's a great summary. It's a blueprint for building not just income, but sustainable independence. But, as Naval constantly reminds us, building that external freedom is only half the battle, maybe less than half.
Right, because what's the point of being financially free if you're miserable inside, if you're constantly anxious, comparing yourself, wanting more?
Exactly. You could have all the money in the world and still be trapped. So, this brings us to the second major part of the Almanac, cultivating inner happiness and peace. And lesson 5 is a radical one. Happiness is a skill you train for.
A skill, not something you find or achieve or buy.
Not according to Naval. He argues very strongly against the idea that happiness is external. It's not I'll be happy when I get the promotion, buy the house, find the partner. That's chasing ghosts.
So what is it then?
He defines happiness primarily as peace, peace of mind, a state of non-suffering. And crucially, he believes it's our default state, the state we return to when we remove the things that block it.
And what blocks it?
Primarily desire. And the constant chatter of the mind, regrets about the past, anxieties about the future, comparisons to others. Most of our suffering, he argues, comes from wishing reality were different than it is right now.
That gap between what is and what we want or what we think should be.
Precisely. That gap is the source of discontent. Happiness isn't about eliminating problems. Life will always have problems. It's about eliminating, or at least managing, the desire for things to be different. It's an internal skill, like learning to play an instrument or getting physically fit. It requires practice.
He uses that sunlight analogy, which I found really helpful.
Yeah, that's lovely. Happiness is like the sun. It's always there, inherently present. But our minds constantly generate clouds, worries, desires, judgments, fear that obscure the sun.
So the skill isn't finding the sun, it's learning to clear the clouds.
Exactly. Learning to see the clouds for what they are, temporary mental states, and not identify with them. The practice is cloud clearing.
Okay, so how do we practice this skill? What are the actionable steps for clearing those clouds?
He suggests several practical things. Gratitude is huge. Not just saying thanks, but actively feeling and focusing on what you do have right now. It shifts the mind from lack to presence. Mindfulness is key, paying attention to the present moment without judgment. Detachment is another big one, learning not to be overly attached to outcomes or possessions.
And he has that powerful question to ask yourself when you feel a strong craving or attachment.
Right. Would I still be happy without it? If the honest answer is no, then that thing, that person, that outcome effectively owns a piece of your happiness.
Yeah.
You've given away your internal freedom. The goal is to get to a place where your peace isn't dependent on external circumstances changing.
That requires a deep level of self-awareness, which leads perfectly into Lesson 6, finding peace through self-understanding. This is where the Stoic and Eastern philosophy influences really shine through.
Definitely. Naval emphasizes that peace isn't achieved by changing the world outside you, but by understanding the world inside you, specifically understanding the nature of your own mind.
He talks about the unconscious loop most people are trapped in. What does he mean by that?
It's that constant cycle of stimulus-reaction. Something happens, an email, a comment, a news headline, and we react instantly, usually based on ingrained patterns of desire or fear, without any real space for conscious choice. We think our thoughts are us, and we obey them automatically.
We get triggered, essentially, pulled around by our own thoughts and emotions.
Exactly. We're living in reaction mode. The path to peace, he argues, is to break that loop. And the way to break it isn't by fighting your thoughts or trying to force positive thinking. It's by observing them,
Just watching them.
watching them without judgment, realizing that you are not your thoughts. You are the awareness behind the thoughts. You're the sky, not the clouds passing through it.
Ah, okay, creating that separation.
Yes. When you can observe your thoughts, there's an anxious thought, there's a craving, there's a judgment. Without immediately getting swept away by them, you create space. In that space, peace can arise. This leads to what the Stoics called equanimity.
Equanimity, like calmness.
It's more than just calmness. It's a deep, steady acceptance of reality as it is, both the good and the bad, without being overly disturbed. It's seeing things clearly, without the distorting lens of your own desires and fears.
The pond analogy helps make this concrete, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's a great visual. Think of your mind like a pond. Every thought, every emotion, every desire is like a pebble thrown into the pond, creating ripples, disturbing the water, making it muddy.
So you can't see clearly through the murky water.
Right. As long as you keep reacting to every ripple, throwing more pebbles in by worrying or craving, the water stays turbulent. But if you simply stop throwing pebbles, if you stop engaging with and reacting to every thought, the water naturally settles.
And when the water is still and clear.
You can see the bottom. You can see reality reflected accurately. Clarity emerges. Peace returns. The skill is learning to let the pebbles fall without constantly stirring the water yourself.
What are some common pebbles people are constantly throwing in?
Oh, so many. Comparison is a huge one. Social media is basically a pebble-throwing machine. Worrying about the future, anticipating problems that haven't happened. Ruminating on the past, regrets and resentments. Even just the constant urge for stimulation, checking notifications. All pebbles.
So the practice isn't just formal meditation, though that helps. It's about bringing that awareness into daily life, building space between stimulus and response.
Exactly. Spending moments in silence helps. Deliberately not reacting immediately. Journaling can help you observe your thought patterns. Even just taking a few conscious breaths before responding to a stressful email. It's about cultivating that observer self, strengthening the muscle of awareness. The more aware you become, the less external events dictate your internal state.
This understanding of how our minds create suffering through attachment and reaction sets the stage for maybe the most challenging but also liberating lesson. Lesson 7, where Naval says, "Desire is a contract you make with yourself to be unhappy."
Yeah, that quote hits hard. It fundamentally reframes our entire relationship with goals and wanting things.
It sounds almost anti-ambition. We're taught desire drives progress.
It's subtle. He's not saying never do anything. He's talking about the internal state of craving and attachment. When you intensely desire something you don't have, you are, by definition, in a state of lack, a state of discontent right now.
You've made your happiness conditional on getting that future thing.
Exactly. You've signed a contract with yourself. I will remain unhappy until X happens. You create this happiness gap between your current reality and your desired future state. And that gap is suffering.
And the problem is, even when we get X, the happiness is fleeting, isn't it? The hedonic treadmill kicks in.
Right. You get the thing, feel good for a bit, then your baseline resets and you immediately start desiring Y and Z. The goalposts constantly move. It's an endless chase.
He uses the horizon analogy for this too.
Yeah, chasing desire is like chasing the horizon. The faster you run towards it, the faster it recedes. You never actually arrive. The only way to find peace isn't by finally catching the horizon, but by realizing you don't need to chase it in the first place.
So how do we reconcile this with having goals and wanting to improve our lives?
Nabel suggests being very conscious and selective about your desires. Distinguish between desires that come from a place of genuine creativity and values, like wanting to learn, build, create, help, versus desires that come from lack, comparison, or ego, like wanting status, validation, possessions to impress others.
Choose your desires carefully, almost like choosing your battles.
Exactly. Pick the desires that are intrinsically rewarding, where the process itself brings satisfaction, rather than ones where happiness is entirely dependent on the outcome. Focus on the inputs you control, not the outputs you don't. For example, instead of desiring to be a best-selling author, outcome focus depends on others, focus on the act of writing well every day, process-focused, intrinsic. Peace returns when you find joy in the work itself, detached from the external result.
So the path to freedom involves simplifying, actively choosing to want less, especially the things driven by status and external validation.
The freer and richer you are right now. It's about reclaiming your inner state from external dependencies. Okay, so we've covered the two big pillars: building external wealth through specific knowledge, leverage, and long-term gains.
And cultivating internal peace through awareness, detachment, and managing desire. Now, how does Naval tie these together?
He brings it all together in what he calls the trifecta for a good life. Three essential, interconnected pillars:
The trifecta, what are the three parts?
health, wealth, and happiness, or peace. He emphasizes that you need to cultivate all three simultaneously. They feed into each other.
How so?
Well, if you have wealth and happiness, but your health fails, you can't enjoy them. Your freedom is constrained by physical limitations. If you have health and wealth, but you're anxious and miserable, what's the point? It's a gilded cage. If you have health and happiness, but are constantly stressed about money, that undermines your peace.
So they're like legs of a stool. Neglect one, and the whole thing becomes unstable.
Precisely. And crucially, he points out that the most important elements here can't just be bought off the shelf.
Right, that quote is powerful. A fit body, a calm mind, a house full of love.
These things cannot be bought. They must be earned. Earned through consistent daily effort, good judgment, and playing those long-term games we talked about, applied across all three areas.
This focus on long-term earned rewards connects to his idea of rational optimism, doesn't it?
Yes, to commit to these long-term games, especially when things get tough, you need a certain mindset. Rational optimism isn't blind positivity. It's not ignoring problems. It's the belief, grounded in reason, that if you consistently apply sound principles, learning, building, leverage, integrity, taking care of yourself, the odds are in your favor over the long run. It's understanding that opportunities exist and that focusing on solutions and growth is more productive than dwelling on fear and limitations. It fuels the persistence needed for compounding.
And if we were to boil down the external wealth part to its most potent skill combination, what does Naval say makes you unstoppable?
It's very clear on this. Learn to sell, learn to build. If you can do both, you will be unstoppable.
Build and sell. Why are those two?
Build represents creating value, using your specific knowledge and leverage, like code or media, to make something useful or desirable. Sell represents communicating that value, persuading, distributing, building relationships, understanding markets. If you can only build, you might create amazing things that nobody ever sees or buys. If you can only sell, you might be good at promoting, but lack substance. If you could do both, create genuine value and effectively bring it to the world, you control the whole process. That's maximum independence.
Okay, this gives us a really solid framework. Now let's make it super practical for everyone listening. Can we pull together a list of the key actionable takeaways from the Almanac, like a practical manual distilled from everything we've discussed?
Absolutely. Let's list them out. First, and maybe most importantly, define what wealth truly means to you. Is it time, freedom, impact, specific experiences? Write it down. Clarity here guides all other decisions.
Number 2, actively cultivate your specific knowledge. Follow your genuine curiosity relentlessly. Notice what feels like play. Read widely and deeply every day. Books are concentrated wisdom, mental leverage.
3, master and apply leverage, especially permissionless leverage. Build systems, write code, create content that works for you without requiring your constant time input. Think scale. Think automation.
4, protect your time like it's your most valuable asset, because it is. Learn to say no often, avoid unproductive meetings, unnecessary obligations, ruthlessly prioritize tasks that build your freedom.
5, practice detachment from outcomes. Focus intensely on the process, on your inputs doing good work, acting with integrity. Let the results unfold. Worrying about outcomes just creates suffering and doesn't change them.
6, train the skill of happiness daily. Meditate, reflect, practice gratitude, spend time in nature or silence. Build the muscle of awareness to observe your thoughts without obeying them.
7, escape the comparison trap. Consciously avoid status games. They are unwinnable and destroy peace. Compete only with who you were yesterday. That's the only game worth playing.
8, invest in long-term relationships built on trust. Authenticity and integrity compound here, just like in finance. Good relationships are a source of immense wealth and resilience.
And finally, 9, simplify your desires. Actively question what you really need. Let go of cravings driven by ego, status, or comparison. The less you desire, the wealthier and freer you are in this moment.
That's a fantastic list. It really synthesizes the whole philosophy. So, wrapping it all up, the Almanac isn't just a collection of tips, it's an invitation, really.
It's an invitation to design your life intentionally. The core message is both modern and timeless. Build external wealth using the tools of our age, specific knowledge and leverage, guided by sound judgment.
And simultaneously build internal peace, using ancient wisdom, awareness, detachment, simplifying desire. The goal isn't just to be rich or busy, it's to engineer a life that feels genuinely free, both inside and out.
And maybe the most profound takeaway, the thought to really mull over after listening, is Naval's redefinition of what a truly happy person looks like.
Right, it's not about constant bliss.
No. He says, a happy person isn't someone who's happy all the time. It's someone who effortlessly returns to happiness quickly.
That resilience, that ability to encounter setbacks, feel the emotion, but then observe it, let it pass, and return to a state of peace without getting stuck. That's the skill.
That's the mastery. It's not about avoiding storms, but about becoming a skilled sailor who can navigate them and find calm waters again quickly and naturally. It takes daily practice, lifelong learning.
A powerful idea to end on. Start small, build daily, think deeply, live freely. That really captures the spirit of Naval's Almanac. We really hope this summary from Book by Book has given you some valuable insights and practical steps you can start applying in your own life. If you found this useful, we'd be grateful if you'd subscribe to our channel for more helpful book summaries like this one. Please also share it with anyone you think might benefit, and give it a like. It really helps motivate us to keep bringing you the best summaries we can find.